Welcome to the Bold Truth Leadership Podcast, with a place where you get the straightforward, no nonsense, no holds barred thoughts on leadership and growth, both personally and professionally. The Bold Truth Leadership Podcast is brought to you by the Peak Performance Group. I'm your host, Coach Rick Colster. I'm a certified executive business coach and the Chief Coaching Officer of the Peak Performance Group, where we help people and organizations align and maximize their potential. Today, we're going to shift a little bit from our normal leadership and business to the hot topic of the day, politics. Yes, I know, I said it, politics. Our guest today is a leader in the state of Texas legislature and has been for the past 7 years. He represents the 98th district in Texas as a conservative Republican. He's on some of the highest profile committees as well. So he's earned his right to, speak his mind, so to speak. He's on the Appropriation Committee, the Money, Cybersecurity, and Community Safety. So while he's not representing the district, which is pretty much all the time, he's a business owner who runs a venture capital company. Welcome, Giovanni Capriglione, our state representative in the 98th district of Texas. Welcome to the Bald Truth, Gio.
Well, awesome. Thanks, Rick. I appreciate it. I'm glad to be here. I'm ready to hear the bald truth.
It is the bald truth, man. It's fun. Where do we start? Now, I live in the 98th district, which is one of the reasons I wanted you on. And for our listeners all around the world, we've got listeners all around the world, around the country and around the world. But Texas, the 98th district in Texas is probably, would you say, one of the most conservative areas in the state?
It is. In fact, it's the most conservative suburb for sure. We have one of the highest turnouts, period. We have one of the highest turnout Republican votes in the entire state as well. So it's definitely one of the most conservative areas probably of the country.
Yeah, that's what I think. I mean, you want to put a red dot somewhere, boom, it's probably right here in town.
Exactly.
So, all right, where do we start? You know, I always like to go in and jump in. Where do we start? You're so multifaceted. It's hard to pick a starting place for me. But I'm going to jump in. And how did you get here? I'm jumping in. Here we go. You're running a successful venture capital company, and you go, hey, why not run for the state legislature? Well, that'd be fun. What were you thinking?
Well, I wish I could go back and talk to my former self about that. But, I was super involved in politics even as a kid. Went to visit the Capitol, the state Capitol, the U.S. Capitol, United Nations, all that kind of stuff. And then, with all the stuff that was going on with the former president, I just wanted to get even more involved. I felt that things had to change. And I thought that at the state level, especially here in the great state of Texas, that'd be the best place to do it. So I went out and I started. I didn't know what I was doing. I had never run for office before. And so I lost the first time, but as part of losing, you learn a few things. First of all, that you can't win if people don't know you, and you can't win if you don't have some experience, right? I mean, it's the world's, I would say elections are like the world's greatest interview, except instead of with just one person when you go to get a job, you're doing it, in my case, with 18 to 80,000 people, and you're trying to explain to them why you should have that job. And you tell them what you're going to do. You tell them what you've done. And so after I lost, I learned that, right? Sometimes you have to lose to know there. And so I started to get more involved with the community.
Okay.
I met a lot of people, and I started to build a resume, if you will, of things. And I wasn't interested in running again. I was just really found it great helping the community, serving, and so on. And then people asked me to run. And so I took 6 months out of work. I went to 7,000 houses, one by one, just every single street in the district, houses all over the county. And then I won.
And I remember that because, you probably knocked on my door at some point.
Mm-hmm.
And it for me, I totally get the whole political environment and what's going on. I don't know that it's for me. I love to serve, and I think we all serve in our own way, but it's really a true testament to the character of someone who decides to put themselves out. And whether it's local election or, countrywide, whether it's running for president, you're pretty much bearing your soul to everybody and anybody, because they pretty much got free reign to do what they want to pick you apart, it feels like.
Yeah, we are blessed in this country to have the First Amendment, and in fact, all of our Bill of Rights. But what the First Amendment says is you can say anything you want about an elected official, true or false or whatever. And it's a little bit of a challenge. But you know what? If you know where you're going to go, you just have to stay focused on that, and of course, listen to people's advice and commentary, good and bad, right? Because you can't just say, all right, well, that person doesn't like me. You should figure out why. What can I do?
And as we chatted in the pre-show is, think about what's going on here politically in our country right now. And I've voted in elections since I registered to vote in 1977. Wow. 18 years old. I'm that old. Dinosaurs were still walking the earth. I started voting. And, and I'll say this, maybe I shouldn't, I might regret this one, but when I grew up, my best friend's mom and dad, they were the ones that took me to go register to vote. They were registrars. So I went down to vote, and she goes, she says, well, what do you want to vote? I said, well, what's Bruce? Is my best friend's dad. She said, well, he's a Democrat. I said, well, put me down for that.
Sure.
Didn't know. And I don't think it was as big of a label then than as it is now. Because that's like a cuss word to some. You pick right. Republican or Democrat, you say, oh, one of them's a cuss word to one or the other.
Right.
Almost.
No, right.
Think about what is the climate today that you're finding with the labels, and can we just do the job?
No, and it's a good point. And I voted as soon as I was 18 as well. My parents were Republican, so that's why I did that, right? It's not like...
Oh, mine were too, but I was mad at them, so I said, I'll just...
Well, it's not like, though, at 18, you really know what the party's platform are or necessarily. But as you get older, you kind of decide which camp
sure.
you're going to. And today in America, there are multiple parties, but there are really two camps, right? And you're red or blue. And... what I've seen, even in the now almost 9 years that I've been elected, is things are definitely more partisan than before. And, like for instance, myself, I consider myself someone who listens to both sides. In fact, my previous session, I passed 20 bills, and 19 of them, I got almost unanimous support for Democrats and Republicans, right? It's in Texas easier, right, to go and talk to both parties. And I would say that kind of ended 2 years ago, though. Over the last 2 years, I have seen people just picking sides stronger than ever before. And it becomes harder and harder to say, well, I agree with you, even though we're in a different party. And you're seeing it all over. I've had support all over the spectrum on a variety of different bills. I work on the budget, so we help everyone from securing the border all the way to the Healthy Women's Health Fund, right, to go and provide services for women. So we do a lot of different things that are bipartisan in nature, but it seems now sometimes just the mere fact that one party is trying to do it, immediately the other party says they're against it, right?
And so what's your thought on how do we get back to the civility that, and you look back in history, and I'm pretty sure that debates in the House of Representatives, the United States House of Representatives, were pretty raucous back in the, Benjamin Franklin and the Adams days. They just used cooler words than we use now.
Right.
You're a lout, something like that. But really what he was calling them is something I don't really want to say on the show.
Right.
How do we get back to that civility and say, look, what's really best for the group of people, whether they're red or blue, whatever it is, what's best for the state of Texas? What's best for the United States, the general population? Because like you said, it's one or the other.
Right. And make a good point, because the reason we want to get there is because then we could be more constructive, right? We can go and get more things done for more people if we did that. You're also right. The founding fathers, if you look at their attack ads, if you will, they were bad. I mean, some of them are worse. But I would say the two big differences, one today with social media, has become very, very easy for any opinion to be distributed anywhere. So while before, in the 1800s, you had to worry about your local paper, today you have to worry about anybody in the entire world who has Facebook or Twitter. And so you end up having a lot more people in that conversation. The other part of it is it's on us, right, to be more civil, right? Because if, you know, people follow you, right? I mean, people follow us, people follow the president, people follow their senators, people follow their school board trustees. And if they don't act civilly, then they, you know, then your supporters don't necessarily feel they have to act civilly.
True.
So it's kind of a chicken and the egg thing, right? Well, but I mean, it's our job to go and have respectful conversations, to have podcasts or town halls when we get out of COVID and other things, and just explain to people what we're doing it and why they're doing it. I mean, I have voted, I'm guessing, over 10,000 times since I first got elected, okay? You can pick any one of them, okay? And you could pick a reason why I should have voted for it or why I shouldn't have voted for it. So that's it just depends your spin on it. But what I will say is we also have to look at the results, right? I mean, we live in a great state of Texas. Even in this coronavirus pandemic, we still have a lot of positive things. And a lot of it is because of decisions that were made. So I don't know. I kind of think about it like in high school where there's always people saying stuff or bullying or whatever. The only difference is now it's adults doing it and they're doing it out loud, you know? So we just got to ratchet it down a bit.
And I think that you're absolutely right, is ratcheting it down to a civility thing. I mean, I've got friends on both sides of the aisle, right? I've got friends that are staunch on one side and, you know, strong on the other side. I just want to see us get together because we're friendly. We get along. We have dinner. We'll have a couple bottles of wine, and, you know, just enjoy life and not go, just because I say the sky's blue, you have to say it isn't. Sure. Because that's like 7-year-olds.
But I mean, I think you're right. When you said, hey, have a bottle of wine, right? So I had a vote maybe 4 or 5 years ago that upset some people a lot, right? And so if you went on Facebook, I mean, the worst things, posting, you know, my cell phone number, all this stuff, just really antagonistic. So I found some of those folks that were really upset, and, you know, in their mind, they had reason to be upset, and I invited them to my office. They weren't upset anymore. Because it's different when you're having this conversation in front of a keyboard, right, going at somebody, than having a bottle of wine with them. And so part of it has to be, we need to do a better job, make sure that we have those kind of friendly sit-down conversations with folks so they can really have in-depth conversations. Like right now, if I have a second, you know, there's something about that we've reduced access to drop-off ballots, right, in Texas. Well, that's the headline, but I could sit with you. We may just still disagree, but I would have more time and I'd be able to read your body language and have that conversations, and I can explain why we did it. And I'm sure that 90% of people, if they had all of the information, all the details, to say, all right, actually, that's okay.
Well, it makes, yeah, and that's it. So, all right, I don't want to harp too much on it, but I know this is your heart and soul.
Sure.
But I really want to know a little bit about you. I talked about your intro. When I mentioned your intro, you serve on a lot of committees. Which one keeps you up at night, and which one is the most fun?
Okay, well, it happened to be two different ones. So
Thank you.
The Appropriations Committee, I'm the chairman of the House Appropriations Committee. So I'm the chair of, I got 27 members, and our job is to go and write a budget. We work on a budget, and then it's a 2-year budget. So you don't really have a chance to go back and fix it. And I would say this was a great job in January. Right around March, April, it was not, right? Because effectively, we just get a percentage of what everyone else is making, right? The government. And people stopped making money. People lost their jobs. Oil and gas went away. And people still rely, though, on the services that we pay for, right? I mean, there are still people, for instance, who might need child support services. There are people who still need police, right? There are still people who need their kids to be able to go to school. And it's been really challenging, I would say, right now, because we want to honor those commitments. And we're going to be able to, in Texas, a lot better than other states, But that's one where you're like, this is a problem, right? And the only way really to fix it is to do as much as we can to get the economy back on track. But that's the one I feel the most, just because, you see these spreadsheets, but behind every single one is maybe a nonprofit that's helping domestic abuse shelters. Another one is talking about maybe people with hemophilia and they need their drug treatments. And we're having to make some tough decisions on how to do all of that. Slightly more fun, because maybe it's a little bit less responsibility, is the cybersecurity stuff. I enjoy making sure that we can protect our information and keep it private. And we've done a lot of good when it comes to Texas cybersecurity stance. And we got a lot of great ideas for this upcoming session on how to make even things like this a lot easier and better.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's where we're obviously heading that way in our society, is, more and more cyber. I think this pandemic has really shown us that we need cybersecurity, but also there's better ways to do things.
Sure. No, and part of it is there are, in fact, countries, terrorist organizations, just a kid down the street, right, who are trying to infiltrate, to take your data, delete your data, blackmail you with the data, or just hold it ransom. And it's government entities, but it's private businesses. Almost everyone listening to this has gotten some email of some kind telling them to click a link because it's important. And then you end up getting your computer infected, or
I got there's 15 million waiting for me in Nigeria from some prince. I just can't seem to get a hold of it.
Well, that prince has gotten a lot more sophisticated, because at least before, you're like, all right, that's not how you speak, right? And the grammar is bad. Now, some of the more sophisticated people, they'll find out who your friends are through Facebook. They'll find out where you went yesterday because you did it on Twitter. And I've gotten some, they have my nickname in it. They'll be like, hey, Gio, this is so-and-so. Here are the documents you requested. And they're getting really clever. Some of them obviously are but it requires, people are kind of still new to this, right? They use their computer for some things, but they're still really trusting when it comes to their emails and text messages. Sure. There's bad actors out there. And so that's one of the things I spend a lot of time on, and want to make sure that we can at least put the state in a better position when it comes to that.
What? And that's important. And I thank you for that, for doing that for the state of Texas and for all of our citizens here. And that really is important, because there are too many people out there that take advantage. I'm a little wary. And some of my background, I call myself, I'm always on yellow alert. If they've got the different, white, yellow, orange, and red, right? I'm kind of always on, even walking around, I'm always on yellow alert, kind of just back to a wall. I go into a restaurant, I'm like, I'm not acting on anything. I'm just paying attention a little bit. And same with the cyber piece. I mean, if I get something, an email, I didn't request that.
Right.
And unless I can check it comes from a reputable source, and go, why would I get that, and back it up before I open stuff.
Right.
I had one that locked my computer up and said, give us $500. What do they call them? Ransomware?
Ransomware, that's right. And I mean, we've been hit in the state last year, about 20 different cities were hit all on the same day with a big ransomware attack. And the thing is, from the state's perspective, we have a lot of personal information on people.
Oh, yeah.
Social security number, we may have some of your health records, we may have all of that stuff. So it's not just, and we've had school districts that have wired $800,000 to someone who lied about the routing number and changed the routing number and that kind of stuff. Oh, it's been crazy.
Wow.
And so for us, we want to make sure that we not only protect the data, but part of it too, I've been spending a lot of time on privacy and privacy related issues, and people walk around with their cell phone and everything else and don't realize just how much data they're giving up and other people are profiting off.
Oh, I mean, you talk about the cell phone that we carry, a little iPhone or whatever it is, whatever you have, Android, iPhone, doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. It's got more computing power than the Apollo mission did that landed on the moon in your hand.
Yeah, right.
It's nuts.
Yeah, and unlike even that, here's the thing, it knows I mean, because I've seen some of the data that it collects. It knows when you go to bed, it knows when you wake up, it knows whether you're driving, walking, where you're going. It's constantly
all of that.
You are. Yeah. I mean, and people, they download apps and they don't think about it, but that information is going, so there's nothing free, right? So someone gives you a free app, how are they making their money, right? They're making their money selling the information you're giving them.
Yeah. My wife and I, we walk in Bear Creek every morning. We get about 4 miles in from our house back. So we're enjoying this city.
Yeah.
And so what do I use? Map my run every day. So I want to see how far I'm walking. Oh, wow, really 13-minute miles. That's really good. And I know somebody's got that data, and they know that between this time and this time, consistently on a day, and if they looked at it, they could say, well, by the way, he's going to be out of his house at this time. And I'm not going to tell you guys when that is either.
I'll just go on the dark web and get it.
But it's that, when you talk about it, that's pretty scary information to have. And all I'm trying to do is see how my heart rate is, if I'm staying healthy. But bad actors can use that in a bad way.
Sure. Just think about when you go in, let's say you're traveling, Rick, and you're going to go to Austin, and it's just going to be you, right? So you go and you select, how many guests, and you put 1, right? Well, I know where you're going. I know when you're going to be there. Probably know how you're going to get there. Oh, and I also know your family's not going with you. They're going to be home. And collectively, I can say, if I'm a foreign country, I can say, why are all these military guys going into that city? Why is all this? So anyway, a lot of that information. So we're working on privacy, working on cybersecurity, and we're working on the budget. And that pretty much keeps me busy.
Well, that's important stuff. I'll tell you what. So, all right, we talk about community a lot here on The Bald Truth. So what is it about your community, where you live, and Texas that you love?
Yeah. Well, I will say, and if you look at our community, which includes Keller, Clyville, Southlake, Grapevine, it's a community of interest. And so while there are different cities, there's a lot of synergy between all of us. We're a suburb that's focused on education, right? A lot of us came here because it's the best schools. And I like it because this is where a lot of us dream about being, is right where we are, right? Which is being in a safe area. Our kids have a great school.
Sure.
We have the ability to go and commute where we need to and find job opportunities. So I just like the fact also, though, we have so many groups here, nonprofits, charitable organizations, school group, PTA. I mean, I was doing this for a start. I'm in 57, I've donated, sponsored, been part of 57 different groups, right? And I probably only scratched the surface. Everywhere here in Keller and in Southlake and Clyville, there's people who want to help. I have never found more charitable people, more community-focused people in our area and in Texas. I'm not from Texas, and I'm from New England originally, and people aren't like this, right? I mean,
no, you're absolutely right. I have to agree with you because, as you and I know, I've actually helped you with a couple of your charitable things in the past, and I've emceed things, and I've been a part of, and I go to the galas, and I help out when I can, but there's so much good being done in this area. And and one of the things I love about it as well, because it's my community too, is the fact that people are willing to share their wealth, if you will, to share the gifts that they've had and give back. So I think about now, I go, okay, now we want to shift to the other side and go, I'm willing to give. Don't make me give though.
Right.
I'm happy to dole out whatever it is, whether it's time, energy, money, etc. But if you force me to, then I think it changes the dynamics in the community.
Right. Well, I mean, there's a guy a long time ago, Tocqueville. He came from France to the U.S. and he was trying to figure out what made America so great. And what he came to the conclusion was America is exceptional because people have community. And now we've lost, a lot of parts of the world have lost that, right? They don't join as many clubs, they don't do this. But I would say is in our area, it's still about community and it's still about helping one another, whether it's or not.
Now, what's a powerful concept that you could share on how to build and keep a community, and maybe not just a city community, but also as a businessman in an organization? So what kind of things can people do, our listeners who are business people, how can they build community in their businesses and build that, not just a community city, but a community organization? What do you think?
Well, so to me, I think we have to listen. Facebook and social media, it's easy to say you're part of a group. It's easy to say you're part of a business affiliation or whatever. I think it still gets back to go back to what really matters. Go to people's houses, right? Go and have those mixers. Go and do that. I mean, it's so shocking to me when I used to grow up, and maybe you too, you would know your neighbors.
Oh, yeah.
Now, not so much, right? So I would say starting your own area. I mean, to me, getting involved in local politics is the best way to do that. And I know some people, when they hear politics, that's like, no, I don't want to. It's not my thing. But politics can be, and the people who are elected officials, they can be part of that community, and they know a lot of folks. And get involved in your community, and that starts with voting. And so I look at it that way. But if you want to know, what's that new restaurant being opened? Where's that new road going to go? What is going on with that antenna tower over there? Whatever. All of that is decided, quite frankly, with your neighbors who happen to be elected. So that's another way to just get super involved, and you'll just learn so much.
Yeah, and my wife and I, because we're in the voting season right now, we're in the hotbed of voting, and we're talking about it, and we've actually found a couple friends never registered to vote. I'm like, what is wrong with you? Now, I'm pretty outspoken when I think about it, and I've actually told people, I said, did you vote? And they went, no. And then, shut up. You got period. And I'm not really nice about it. Probably why I'm not in politics, but I'll help.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, people come to me sometimes, they come to my office, I look them up. It's easy to find out if someone votes.
Sure.
And I'm like, hey, I mean, I have people who vote that need stuff too. And I really believe in that you can't complain if you haven't voted. And once you vote, though, I'm your favorite person. You're my favorite person, right?
Yeah, because it doesn't matter. I say to them, I don't care which way you vote, but let your voice be heard. And if anybody's listening and you're here, just let your voice be heard. I think that's what builds your community. And same in a business is don't sit there and don't say anything if you see something wrong, something needs to be changed, processes aren't working. I don't know, from a business perspective, if you see something that's not working right, speak up.
Speak up.
If you become part of the problem.
Mm-hmm. And speaking up is easy. Every single elected official would be more than happy to have you at their office.
Yeah.
We're big people to come to our office, right?
Be careful what you wish for.
Well, but you know, how else are we supposed to know what to do, right? I mean, it's just like your business. It's like deciding, okay, I'm going to have a business, but I'm not going to talk to my customers. Or it's a customer saying, I'm not going to go to a restaurant anymore because they don't serve this anymore. Well, did you let them know? Because maybe they could change it. Maybe they could fix it. So it's really all about communication at the end of the day. And I think that's why communication and community are so, that, they sound the same. Because without that kind of conversation, and we're all busy. I get that, right? We all go work and we come back home with commute and you're like, I just want to veg. Fine. But maybe it's just a little bit each day.
And you're right. I remember growing up, and I grew up in the Northeast as well, not New England. I'm a Jersey boy.
Oh, wow. Okay.
But my, everybody says, oh, wow. And what does that mean?
No.
my dad, he knew our neighbors. We knew Richie across the street. Kenny was next door, and Dad and Kenny would go to Sears and look at tools. Like women would go shopping for dresses, they would go shopping for tools. I remember that growing up, and they would do stuff together. And we knew all of our neighbors. And now it's like I said, you're right. Get out, get to know the people in your community, and then build that community. And same as a business thing is get to know the other people at work that you work with. Mary down in accounting, John in shipping, or, I'm not trying to put, stereotype anything, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Go get to know these people. If you're not in that department, find somebody and learn what they do, learn about them. Because we all have desires.
We do. And then sometimes we have these fears, right, of whatever. And so, you may not believe this, but I still have stage fright. And when I first started this deal, I could not. I mean, I watch you when you talk, and I can never do that, right? My first election, I wouldn't even go speak anywhere, right? Just because I was so. But what I learned is, whether you're shy or you're worried or you don't want to get involved, other people want you to approach them too, right? I mean, and so if you're willing to do that, it's not like you're going to get, oh, I don't want to talk to you or anything. It's like, oh, yeah. People want that bond. So it's just easier to do than most people think.
I think you nailed it there. And I've told this to up-and-coming speakers for years, is when you look at the audience, they want you to succeed. They want you to give a good message. They don't want you to go and fall off the stage. They don't want you to forget your speech and run off the stage. They're looking for you to be successful. They're cheering for you to be successful because they want value from you. And if we keep that in mind, and with everybody that we interact with, we say, guess what? They want us to interact. They want to get value from us. They want us to be successful. I don't wish harm on anybody, any way, shape, or form. I just will not do it. It doesn't play well to me. My karma doesn't work with my karma. It doesn't work with my God. Any of this. Is I want you to be successful. I want you to be healthy. I want you to be safe. And if you don't, you've got bigger problems, I think. So that's where I think we need to shift that civility back and say, okay, I really want everybody to live a good life, the best life they can. And NSA, we talk about National Speakers Association, not the other security thing, is we talk about everybody wants their slice of pie, but our concept is we all get our piece of the pie. Let's just make the pie bigger.
That's right.
And we can all get what we need in that. So, So, all right, I'd be remiss if I didn't throw you under the bus a little bit.
Okay.
You ready?
I'm ready.
And I know you're busy. I know you got stuff to do today, so I promise you to keep it kind of in the window that we always promise. So I've always got 3 questions, and I call them the bald truth questions, because this uncovers who you are. And I think folks want to know who you are. Your constituents, people that are going to be watching, our listeners, they want to know who Gio is.
Okay.
So here's the question. You're holding a dinner party for 6, you being one. You get to invite 5 people of your choice, and those 5 people can be anybody in all of history, alive or dead. The only caveat is they have to have been born. You can't say, oh, I want my grandson's grandson who's never been born yet, hasn't even thought of yet. So anyone alive or dead in all of history, 5 people, who would you invite and why?
Oh, wow. Well, there's people I've read about for a long time that I would just love to know more about. So someone like George Washington is probably first on my list. I mean, you have someone literally started this whole country, but before that was not interested in doing that, right? I mean, he was risking his life, everything. So I would ask him why. I would ask him why. What went through your head when you decided to, be the leader of the revolt, right? Effectively, okay. I would love to talk to someone like Socrates, right? Because, and it's different because I read his stuff and I don't get it, right? So I would love the opportunity to ask him questions about what do you mean by this or what do you mean by that? Because when you read it, you can't really understand where it is. I'm a physics major. I graduated with a physics degree, so I would absolutely want to talk to Albert Einstein. And I just want to know, because here's a person who, he was obviously a brilliant genius, but for a long time was considered not, right? So I'd like to figure out what he was doing. I've loved studying generals and people who have conquered armies and that kind of stuff. So Napoleon Bonaparte would definitely be somebody that I want to do, to just see, again, how did you get here and what were your strategies? And let's see who else. Did I come up with 6 yet?
One left.
I got one left. Well, I think, and it could be anybody.
Anybody.
Okay. Well, I think, just like everybody else, we all have questions about where we came from and where we're going. So, yes, I would like my dinner with Jesus Christ, just to be able to say, what am I doing wrong? Okay, what should I be doing right? And so to me, that's, if I had to pick the top 5, it'd be an awesome dinner, though. That'd be for sure.
Yeah, I can imagine. And I love doing this because it really shows some of our interests that we don't really get to just sit and have a question.
That's cool. That's a good question. That's a good question. Yeah.
So here we go. So now, second question is, an article's being written about you after you've passed. We all have an expiration date. We all know that. So, but you've passed, an article being written about you. What's the title? Not what's in it. What's the headline or the title?
I've been absolutely blessed, Rick, right, with having the positions that I have, with working on a budget. But I wanted to say, how great of why Giovanni was such a great father, I guess would be the title. I love my kids, and no matter what you do, at least for me, when I pass, they're my legacy, and they're what I care about. So for me, the title has to be about my kids and my relationship with them.
That's beautiful. I love that. And that's, my kids as well is, and I'm now a grandpa.
Are you really? Oh, wow.
Yeah, 2 times over. I'm loving it.
Is that right?
Yeah. It's better than kids. Trust me.
Is that right? True.
They're more fun. You give them back. So, all right. Final question. Okay. And this is good. This is going to set you up a little bit. Okay. What do you do to set yourself up for success every morning? What do you do each morning to set yourself up for success?
What I do in the beginning is, so I have a pretty hectic schedule, but I spend a few minutes just thinking about what I'm going to do that day, right? So just like this call and others, for a while, I would just kind of do an event or do a meeting, then see where I was going next and so on. But just spending 5 minutes just in your mind, laying out what the day is going to be, I found has just made my day a lot calmer, a lot less stressful. And even 5 minutes, I'm prepared to do that. So I would say just, start with the end in mind, right? So think about
okay, great.
Done, and you can map it out in your head while you're taking your shower.
Awesome. That's good. And this is stuff that I asked that because everybody does something different, and it allows the audience to go, hey, maybe I should try that. That'd be a good idea. So, Gio, I thank you. I appreciate you being on today. It's been an awesome one. Thanks for opening up about the politics. I know that's always going to be a touchy subject, no matter what it is, but you're dead in the middle of it, so you're the guy. And we're dead in this election. He's dead in the middle of this election season.
Right. And, so I make the pitch. Early voting starts here October 13th, and you can go to any of your local election places to make sure you vote. And like Rick said, this is your voice. I mean, to me, it's the ticket to everything, right? And it's free. You just have to show up and do it, and now you're part of the biggest democratic experiment in the whole entire history of the planet. So just be part of it.
It's an experiment too, I guarantee. It's I'm learning. At 60 plus years old, I'm like, wow, this has been an interesting ride, and I can't even imagine what they were thinking early on. So, Gio, thanks for spending time with us today. I appreciate it. Right. How can people get in touch with you if they need to?
Yep, I am in the Keller Town Hall, 2nd floor, or just go to my website, votegiovanni.com.
VoteGiovanni.com. You look below, you'll see it on the tag, folks. It's right down there, VoteGiovanni.com, or at 1100 Bear Creek Parkway, in Keller Town Hall. He's got an office there, folks, if you want to do him, or Google him. You'll see his name. You know how to read it. Google him. Right. You can call him, and I absolutely know that he will take your call and he'll talk to you here. So, folks, if you're interested, give him a holler. I challenge you to do it, and get out and vote this year, folks. Get out to vote. And it doesn't matter who you vote for, but let your voice be heard. This is a beautiful, beautiful time for us. So thank you, buddy. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, folks, you've been listening to the Bald Truth Leadership Podcast with Coach Rick of the Peak Performance Group. We help people and organizations maximize their potential. So if you're looking for a way to grow your organization, whether it's sales, strategic direction, the Peak Performance Group, we can help you grow with our proven business acceleration system, the BAS, the business acceleration system. We can help you grow, folks. You can call us at 817-748-7425, or in the interweb, as I like to call it, the www.mypotentialplus.com, and we will connect you with the right coach. Remember, subscribe, hit the like button, subscribe here on the YouTube channel if you're watching a video, or subscribe on iHeart, iTunes, wherever you are. We're on all these things. So subscribe and like so you get every single episode. Folks, This has been a blast. It's been a good one. Politics at its finest. I love it. I'm Coach Rick, and that's the bald truth.